Good morning. I know everybody's busy signing on and getting ready. Thank you for joining us again. This is our weekly series with our SBA experts as well as our SBDC. And we have another great program for you this morning to ask your questions and help us navigate. Thank you for joining us. I want to also acknowledge my fellow partners. I want to give a shout out to the Ahwatukee Foothills, the Apache Junction, Carefree Cave Creek, Chandler, Fountain Hills, Gilbert, Queen Creek, and Tempe Chambers of Commerce. Thank you so much for the collaboration efforts in putting on this weekly series. It is my pleasure. I have Jim Pipper with the SBA along with Yolanda Stokes, as well as Paula Whitkin with the SBDC. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And Jim, I guess I will, or I guess this is Yolanda's slide. Yolanda, I'll let you go through this slide on some of the numbers that you have processed on the EIDL Advance program.
Absolutely. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the call. Terry, thank you so much for coordinating this call for us. I'll go ahead and start with just some approval numbers. These are numbers as of last Friday for the state of Arizona. Under the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, SBA has processed and approved more than $139 million for the loans, and that's again as of last Friday, the 24th. And under the Economic Injury Disaster Advance Program, we have processed more than 22,000 applications for a total of $91 million. And that $91 million is the portion of the program that doesn't have to be repaid. And I'll be sharing some information, particulars about the EIDL program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, which you've heard the acronym over the last few weeks or so. You've heard many acronyms, the 3P program and the EIDL program. I'll be sharing with you some information about the thresholds, interest rates, common terms and conditions on the loan, as well as the parameters for the advanced program. And next slide, please. And I hope that we're seeing the same slides, guys. So the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program is available to any business that was impacted, of course, by the pandemic and COVID-19. Any small business that has 500 or fewer employees. We're also including our sole proprietors, our independent contractors, and any of our self-employed employees as well. We've also opened up and expanded our Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program as a result of COVID to include our private nonprofit organizations as well as our faith-based organizations. And they're all eligible to apply for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. Anyone who was in business prior to January 31st of this year is eligible to apply, with the deadline to apply being December 31st or until all of the funds are exhausted. Next slide, please. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, or the loans, go up to $2 million. Of course, that's dependent upon how much the business actually needs in working capital. The desire is to provide the business owner with anywhere from 3 to 6 months of working capital. The interest rate is at 3.75% for small businesses of all sizes, and at 2.75% for nonprofits. Terms are up to 30 years, and the payments are deferred for 1 year from the first loan payment. There's no prepayment penalties, and there are also no fees involved in processing of the loan. Although I will add that there may be a one-time fee of $100 that's deducted actually from the loan amount, and that is to cover the UCC filing by the state. It's not actually a fee that's collected by SBA. Next slide, please. The loans can be used for any of your ordinary business expenses that you would have been able to make had you not been hit by the pandemic. So for your payroll expenses, any utilities and rent, your monthly debt, any installment payments, accounts payable and such. any expenses, including your payroll, can be paid for utilizing the EIDL funds. Next slide, please. We have expanded our collateral requirement. There is only a requirement for collateral for any loan that's over $25,000. We have waived the need to pledge any real estate on any COVID-19 pandemic loans. The real estate requirement comes into play for any loan over $500,000. So any loan that's below $500,000, we're going to take a blanket UCC filing on any business assets that are available, any furniture and equipment, machinery and equipment and such. Just the UCC filing on any loans under $500,000. And there's no personal guarantee required unless the loan is over $200,000. Next slide, please. Now we'll talk about the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advance, or you might have heard it referred to as the grant program. And essentially what it is that you have access as a result of the CARES Act. We expanded the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program to include an advance. And essentially we're advancing a portion of your economic injury disaster loan. And how we determine that amount, there was a little confusion out there in the community because everyone thought there was availability of $10,000. But we actually have, it's up to $10,000, and we determine that amount by $1,000 being allocated per employee. So that would be up to a maximum of 10 employees or $10,000. This advance amount is the amount that I mentioned earlier, which is forgiven. You don't have to pay that back. You have until, again, December 31st on both programs to apply, or until the funds are exhausted. And then later on, we'll talk about the correlation between the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program as well as the Paycheck Protection Program. Next slide, please. You can apply under the SBA programs for both programs for the EIDL and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan once that portal opens back up. I know that everyone's aware that the portal is temporarily closed and closed a week or so ago as a result of the appropriations having a lapse in funding. We're still waiting for guidance on when the portal will reopen. When it reopens, you can go to SBA.gov. You'll see the banner at the top of the page, the yellow banner for coronavirus information. Next slide, please. Again, once the portal opens up, there will be a streamlined application to apply. It takes about 10-15 minutes to complete the application. Within that application, you'll also be able to apply for the advance. So there's just one application for both the Economic Injury Disaster Loan as well as the Economic Injury Disaster Advance. Next slide, please. You'll want to make sure when the portal reopens that you check the box to indicate that you'd like to be considered for the advance amount. That, again, is the advance amount up to $10,000 based on your number of employees pre-disaster. So that would be prior to January 31st is what we're looking at, the number of employees that you had prior to COVID. So you'll want to make sure that you check that box and you'll include your banking information because the advance amount will go directly into your checking account. You won't have any prior notice that it's coming, so you'll want to make sure you check your checking account daily for that deposit from the Treasury Department. Next slide, please. Okay, when you apply for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan and the advance, again, it's just one application. You will receive an application number that should begin with the number 3. It's a 10-digit number. That's the number that you want to hold tight to because that's going to be your tracking number. You can call SBA's customer service number at 1-800-659-2955 to obtain information on status. Now, right now, all the applications that are in the portal right now that were processed prior to the lapse in funding, we're still continuing to process those applications on a first-come, first-served basis. So we don't want you to think that the process has come to a halt. So we are continuing to process those applications first-come, first-served. So if you've already applied, you've already obtained your reference number, that 10-digit number beginning with a 3, then you can track that number by calling SBA's customer service department. You can certainly also reach out to, if you have some particular questions, through SBA's disaster customer service email as well, which is disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. Next slide, please. Okay, and at this time, I will turn it over to my SBDC partners for their contribution to the webinar. Thank you.
Actually, I think we're going to jump to Jim and talk about the PPP component as well. And then we will save all of your questions for the end. So I don't want you to think that we are not going to answer them, but let's get all the information out first, and then we'll take the questions for our panelists. So Jim?
Well, good morning, everybody. I want to start this on a brighter note. I've been accused of having a $1 million smile. How am I looking? Hugs used to, smiles are still free. Hugs used to be. Give somebody a smile today. It works miracles. Paula, you got a good smile too. So, one more infomercial. Tomorrow is May 1st. Are we unbelievable, huh? Time sure flies when you're having fun. Are we all still having fun? Don't forget, a very important date is fast approaching. Mother's Day is Sunday, May 10th. And for those of you that may have overlooked that from time to time, I'm not saying who, don't do that. That's not a good plan. One last infomercial. If you're a lender listening to this webinar, SBA has established 2 mailboxes to support lenders' questions about the PPP program and answer questions on the interim final rules. We encourage them to use these mailboxes and to CC Craig Jordan at SBA.gov. That's craig.jordan@sba.gov with all correspondence. One, the mailboxes, PPP questions. It's a long word, but all one word, 7A Paycheck Loan Program questions at SBA.gov. 2, interim final rule questions for the lenders that may be on this webinar, PPP-IFR@SBA.gov. One final thing, we had some numbers shown and they're on the screen right now, but I want to give you some what I call hump day numbers. This was as of yesterday afternoon. Total approved loans for PPP2. That's the funding that went out just recently. Over 960,000 loans. Total amount of those loans, $90 billion. Over 5,300 lender participating. More importantly, small banks under $10 billion in assets led the way in both loans and dollars. How about that, folks? 587,000 loans, or 61%. $43 billion for small businesses, went to small businesses. Medium banks, 10 to 50 billion, over 206,000 loans for $20 billion. And large banks, over $50 billion, 167,000 loans for $25 billion. One last bit, sign up to receive SBA Arizona updates on our website. I have the link for that, but I'd like to get started on our presentation if that's okay with everybody. So next slide here. Okay, back one. There we go. All right, right there. See that website right there, www.sba.gov/AZ. That's our state website. We're very proud of it. We're working hard to keep it up to date. There are daily updates. If there's something that we need to put on there, we put it on there for your information. So please check that website as often as possible. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, these are the disaster relief assistance programs along with the links for those programs. Very important slide for you to pay attention to. These links are very active and they will outline what we are going over in a thumbnail sketch manner this morning in this webinar. But those links are very, very active and very important. So I want to pay particular attention to the resource partner assistance. Find those resources. Paul is with us today and she'll be talking more about that. But please pay attention to those links. Okay, next. All right, the CARES Act, which was signed into law on March 27th, was initially was $349 billion to provide direct incentive for small businesses to keep their workers on payroll. There's another link. Pay attention to these links, please. Additional funds authorized on April 24th, just a few days ago, $310 million, excuse me. It's available, the PPP 2 program we're talking about, that's available until June 30th or until funds are exhausted. And I'm hoping that we don't exhaust those funds as quickly as we did on the first round. SBA is taking steps to make sure that it gets down to the smaller businesses, and I outlined that when I mentioned the smaller banks. So funding source is itself is 100% guaranteed loans by the Department of Treasury and SBA. Where to apply? Approved SBA lenders. You'll find those lenders on our website that was on the first screen. So we put on there the PPP lenders and those that are lenders, smaller banks, and the lenders that are accepting new applications are on there. We are very proud of that. So please take time to look at our lender list that's on there. Next slide. Okay, PPP eligibility. This program is for businesses affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and fall under one of the following. Businesses must have been in operation prior to February 15th. Small businesses with less than 500 employees, sole proprietors, independent contractors, etc. Private non-profit organizations under 501c3s, veteran organizations, 501c19s, businesses in certain industries, I want to point out, may have more than 500 employees if they meet the SBA size standards for those industries. Some industries allow for larger groups of employees. But so you want to check out our size standards, but typically SBA talks about 500 or less employees for small business standards. Small businesses in the hospitality and food industry with more than one location could also be eligible if their individual locations employ less than 500 workers. So next slide, please. Okay, the loan calculation. How much can I borrow? That's been asked very often. So the average monthly payroll from the past year capped at $100,000 per employee up to a maximum of $10 million. Interest rate is 1%. I think everybody should like that one. Term, 2 years. All terms are same for everyone. Payments and fees, 6-month deferment on the first payment. So for the first 6 months, you don't have to make any payments. Interest will accrue over this period, again at 1%. There are no prepayment penalties and no application fees from the lenders or the government. No personal guarantee requirement. Next slide, please. PP loan amounts. What loan amount do I qualify? Okay, this gets a little tricky, but there's some help on these websites. Depending on your business situation, the loan size will be calculated in different ways. The maximum loan size, like we said earlier, is $10 million. If you were in business February 15th, 2019 to June 30th, 2019, your max loan is equal to 250% of your average monthly payroll costs during that time period. If your business employs seasonal workers, you can opt to choose March 1st, 2019 as your time period start date. If you were not in business between February 15th, 2019 and June 30th, 2000, your maximum loan amount is to 250% of your average monthly payroll costs between January 1st, 2020 and February 29th, 2020. If you took out an economic injury disaster loan that Yolanda talked about between February 15th, 2020 and June 30th, 2020, and you want to refinance that loan into a PPP loan, you would add the outstanding loan amount to the payroll sum. All right, next slide, Carrie. Okay, PP loan use. How can I use the funds? Funds can be used for employee salaries, benefits, including paid sick leave or medical leave and insurance premiums, mortgage interest, not principal, rent, utility payments, and loan forgiven if the loan proceeds are used to cover payroll costs and most mortgage interest, rent, and utility costs over the 8-week period from the time the loan is made and employee and compensation levels are maintained. Next slide. The loan will be fully forgiven if the funds are used for payroll costs, interest on mortgages, rent, and utilities. Special note, at least 75% of the forgiven amount must have been used for payroll. We're trying to keep employees in place. Forgiveness is based on the employer maintaining or rehiring employees and maintaining salary levels. Forgiveness will be reduced if full-time headcount declines or if salaries and wages decrease. Next slide, Terry. All right. Payroll costs. What is included in payroll costs? There's a very special link that you're looking at in blue. Okay, that is a very handy dandy calculator for helping you calculate loan amounts. As I mentioned earlier, the sum of payments of any compensation with respect to employees, such as salary, wage, commission, or similar compensation, payment of cash tips or equivalent, payment for vacation, parental, family, medical, or sick leave that you paid for your employees, allowance for dismissal or separation, payment required for the provision of group health care benefits, including insurance premiums, payment of any retirement benefit, payment of state or local tax assessed on the compensation of the employee. Those all can be included. Thank you. Next slide. Cost included, payroll. What costs are excluded from payroll? All right, cost excluded, compensation of an individual employee in excess of an annual salary of $100,000 as prorated for the period February 15th, 2020 to June 30th, 2020. Payroll taxes, railroad retirement taxes, and income taxes. Any compensation of an employee whose principal place of residence is outside of the United States. Qualified sick leave wages for which a credit is allowed under Section 701 of the 701 of the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, Public Law 116-5 of 127, or qualified family leave wages for which a credit is allowed under Section 703 of the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. Terry, next slide, please. Okay. Again, I'm on this slide. I'm going to let you cruise on your own, but pay attention. We put the how to calculate loan amounts again up there for you, so you can help this, a very handy dandy tool to help you get through and navigate applying for the correct loan amount. So next slide. Okay, the application process is apply to PPP through any qualified lender approved by SBA. And you can find a PPP lender right there on that link. And we at the Arizona District Office have added a link on our website. So if you're looking for our local PPP lenders in the state of Arizona, we put that on there. They're approved national and we also included approved national non-bank lenders and Arizona micro lenders and California lenders as well. So we've got a nice group. We have been told by other SBA offices that they are very proud that we did that. And it's become very handy for those of you that are still may be looking for a PPP lender. Lenders have started processing loan applications as of April 3rd, and the PPP will be available through June 30th or whenever, again, funds are exhausted. Next slide. Okay, here's the PPP forms and documents that are required. And again, I'll let you cruise through that. Terry, next slide, please. PPP Loan Forgiveness. I want to emphasize that in order to receive PPP Loan Forgiveness, there will be a process to follow. You will need to request forgiveness and submit supporting documentation that shows use of funds and proof that you met the 75% threshold to obtain 100% forgiveness on the PPP loan. It is very important that you keep detailed records showing use of the PPP funds. So if you haven't been in the practice of keeping detailed records, I'm going to give you a suggestion. This time, keep detailed records and get some help with those records. Next slide, please. Back to the forgiveness. How much of my PP loan is forgiven? You will owe money when your loan is due if you use the loan amount for anything other than payroll costs, mortgage interest, rent, and utilities, payments over the 8 weeks after getting the loan, not more than 25%, as I mentioned earlier, of the forgiven amount may be for non-payroll costs. You will also owe money if you do not maintain your staff and payroll. That's worth repeating. You will also owe money if you do not maintain your staff and payroll. Number of staff, your loan forgiveness will be reduced if you decrease your full-time employee headcount. Level of payroll, your loan forgiveness will also be reduced if you decrease salaries and wages by more than 25% for any employee that made less than $100,000 annualized in 2019. Next slide. Okay. The economic injury loan was explained by Yolanda. She did a great job. And Yolanda, thank you for being on the webinar with us. We sure appreciate your helping hand. And I think, I know we have several questions. We'll get to those at some point. Terry, I'll put that back in your court. I know we want to talk about the resource partners, and we have one with us today. And if you haven't used, and this is another infomercial from me, I've been with the SBA a long time and very proud of it. If you haven't used any of our resource partners, please take full advantage of their services. They're working very hard to help. And we have one of the finest ones that I know in the SBDC network on board in this webinar. So that's a good way to turn it over to our friend Paula. So
that's perfect. And then after Paula's done, we will take everybody's questions. So hang on the line and be patient. Thank you, Paula, for joining us.
Of course. Thank you, Jim, for that introduction. So just very briefly, I know we want to get to questions, but for those of you who are not familiar with the Small Business Development Center, we are a resource partner to the SBA, and I am actually a business analyst with the Maricopa Small Business Development Center, which is a part of the America's SBDC Arizona network. We actually have 10 sites located across Arizona. And, you know, the main thing that we offer is no fee counseling. So especially at this time, you know, you can use our services and we're not ever going to charge you a fee for our one-on-one counseling service. So I know that's really important at this time. We also offer no or low-cost training, and we have some access to some great research tools that help our clients. But just very quickly, you see down the middle of this slide, just some of the areas for which we help clients. Of course, right now, the past several weeks, we've been very focused on these disaster loans and helping our clients figure out, navigate, you know, what loans are right for them, the application process, and now a lot of the questions are turning to record keeping and what do I need to do? Can I still apply? So funding assistance, and even, you know, if you've obtained these disaster loans going forward, maybe what's your funding strategy? And hopefully everyone can get those loans, but if not, you know, let's take a look at, we can sit down with you and look at what is your funding strategy going forward? How can you stay viable? Financial review, maybe this situation has exposed some weaknesses in your financials. We can sit down with you and just help you do an assessment of your strengths and weaknesses and figure out a game plan for going forward. You're kind of shoring up the foundations of your business. Growth strategies, business plans, sales and marketing, exit strategies. We have experts in export and international trade, manufacturing, and technology. What's not listed here is also the PTAC group, the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. are our experts in government contracting. So just a snapshot, but many other areas that we help our clients. Next slide, Terry. I wanted to just share with you a couple of the tools that we use with our clients, and really at this unique time that we're all experiencing right now. At a certain point, you're going to have to start thinking about, okay, what are our next steps? Just kind of reassessing your business. Like I said, kind of shoring up the foundation. And what you're seeing on the screen, it's a little bit small, but this is just a snapshot of a 360-degree perspective tool from our Growth Wheel tool set. And you know, maybe you're not sure about the next steps, but you can schedule an initial counseling session with us, and we can sit down and help you look through, you know, what is your business concept? Is it still good as you had it, or do you kind of need to reassess and kind of put in some changes? What are your customer relationships? How are they standing? Networking, marketing, sales, communications. What about your operations? Do things need to change now? And then even just your organizational structure, your employees, advisory boards. But we can sit down with you and just do an assessment now looking forward to how to shore up the business and move forward as we come out of the COVID situation. Next slide, please. One of the other tools that also is very, very valuable, you know, just around this whole financial review, we have access to our profit sense reports, and for our clients, we are able to take their P&Ls and balance sheets and import them into this profit sense tool and kick out a comparison report so that you can see how you're doing against other similar businesses in your industry. Now, of course, things are changing now, but here again, just kind of assessing where were you, and let's kind of look at what are some things you can do moving forward to shore up those financials and strengthen the profitability of your business. And then next slide, please. Like I said, it's no fee counseling. It's very easy to get access to our services. All you need to do is go to maricopa-sbdc.com, and off that main page, you can click that request counseling link. You fill out a very simple one-page form, takes you all of maybe 30 seconds to do. That's going to put you into the queue, and you'll get in touch with Connie or Yvette, who are taking care of our intake process, and you'll be assigned a lead counselor. And we always try to assign a lead counselor that's close to your location. I'm one of the East Valley counselors, as well as Marcus Brown is in East Valley. So likely you'll get either me or Marcus. And what we'll do is we'll reach out and schedule an initial counseling session to sit down and help you through and talk about your business. Of course, right now, if you're still focused on these disaster loans, oftentimes our clients are coming to these immediate questions. We can help you kind of navigate those questions going forward. But we really want to build longer term relationships. We want to help you move forward and build that strong business going forward. And next slide, please, Terry. And then here again, just contact information again, maricopa-sbdc.com gets you to our main page. If you have any questions, Terry, feel free to share this information with those who are attending. Yvette is one of our intake team. She can help answer any questions that you have. We also have a COVID-19 link on our page, and please follow us on the social media so you can get updates. We have some more webinars coming up in May on various topics that might be of interest to you. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Paula. I know that your services going forward, as we start to bring back employees and so forth for businesses, are going to be more and more critical as we move forward. And then you also have resources to connect with your partners in Pinal County and so forth, because I know that we have some people on today that are with the Apache Junction Chamber, which part of that falls in Pinal County too as well. So
yes. So if you go to the SBDC site, you can find the location, but if you're not sure, I'm happy to talk to you and connect you directly with the center for your location in the state.
All right, thank you for that. Now we're going to open it up for the questions. And so the first question is, we filed for a PPP loan. When did our 2019, we did our 2019 taxes and we did a 1065 form, but not Schedule C. Can we submit that instead? And then the second part to that question is, I saw an inquiry on my personal credit report, but cannot get info on whether our EIDL application was processed or not. We applied March 30th. I heard bad personal credit can knock you out, ? So I think part of that's for Jim and part of that's for Yolanda.
Well, I'll take the part of the bad credit. If you've had bad credit, it might be a very wise thing to check with our SBDC folks. They can help you manage that a little bit, and it will come back and bite you if that is the case. But I wouldn't stop. I wouldn't just I would get some help with that. So. Yolanda.
Thank you, Jim. And I'll just mirror what Jim said. If your EIDL application, if you have not received status as to whether or not it was declined, you can contact SBA's customer service number at the 800-659-2955 to obtain that exact status of the application. We do determine eligibility for the EIDL and the EIDL advance, or the EIDL loan, I should say, based on your credit as well as your ability to repay the loan. Those are two factors that we look at.
All right, next question. What if the borrower were to pass away? Would the loan be the responsibility of the family?
That's a real good question. I saw it when it popped up, and I do not know the answer to that, but I'll be happy to get an answer for that. So you could send that to Paula, to Terry, to me.
Perfect. All right. I was approved for the EIDL on April 15th. All steps have been completed except for the signed closing documents, the step that has been grayed out since April 15th. It will not let me start that process. I've called and emailed SBA. Nobody can help. They just say I'm in process.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any further guidance on that. If you're at closing document stage, you're pretty close to funding, a very important stage. So I would stay proactive on that and continue to contact SBA's customer service to find out when you can move forward in the process.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead, and we've got a couple of other questions here. Actually, we have several of them. What is the holdup on the EIDL loans? We received the advance last week and have not heard anything since. How long does it take to get in contact with us to discuss our needs? The last we heard, there might be a limitation or maximum funding of $15,000, which does not put a dent in our needs.
Okay, thank you for that question. And we've actually removed that threshold of $15,000 some weeks ago. As you all know, the portal is temporarily closed. However, we continue to process applications that were already in queue. So you should be hearing from SBA within the next week or so. I don't really want to put a timeline out there because I really don't have an exact timeline. If you've already received the EIDL advance, you will receive an email directly from SBA inviting you to go into the portal to review what your loan terms are or your loan offer. That would be the next step.
Okay. I received a PPP loan 2 weeks ago. And I just this week received the EIDL advance of $10,000. Is the $10,000 still subtracted from my PPP loan? Should I contact my lender?
Yolanda, you want to take that one?
Yes, the EIDL advance will be subtracted from your PPP loan. So since you've already received that advance and you probably didn't have it at the time that you applied for the PPP, definitely want to get in contact with your lender. That's part of the record keeping that you want to stay on top of.
Yeah, be very careful.
If you have not applied for the EIDL loan yet, are you still able to? And I know that the application is not online.
The EIDL application, the portal is temporarily closed due to the lapse in funding, and we continue to monitor when we're going to reopen or if we're going to reopen that portal. So you can go to the SBA.gov page, click on that yellow banner at the top, check on it every so often, every day or so. Certainly when the portal becomes available again, if it becomes available, there will be probably media that goes out. So stay in touch with that website, check it every so often for updates on the programs.
Okay. In the second PPP guidance said that the owner pay could be included. What about those of us that received PPP funds during the first ruling where it was only the employees? Can I include owner pay?
Well, I don't know the answer to that one either, but I'd be happy to field that one, Terry. So please send that one to me, and
Sure.
we'll get an answer on it right away.
Okay. Paula, this question is for you. How are you counseling businesses at this time? And what is the biggest concern you're hearing from business?
So, excuse me, right now, many of our efforts, we've switched, especially this week, from just basic questions about PPP and EIDL now to the record questions that are coming up here today. What do I need to do to make sure I get to that forgiveness level? What records do I need to keep? So that really is where we're helping our clients. We do have some that are still have questions about, have not applied for PPP loans or the EIDL loans. We're trying to direct them. We try to stay in contact with those lenders on that list. And so even sometimes on a daily basis, we'll get updates about who's still accepting applications. And especially if it's appropriate, pointing them to some of those community lenders, some of the newer ones that have been added to the Arizona PPP loan list. So we are really focused on those areas.
Great. Does the mortgage utilities qualify for a home office?
Wow. That's another great question that I can't answer. So looks like I got another one coming. So Terry, send it.
I'm going to make you do your homework.
How you gotta make you, yeah.
All right. If you've already applied and are approved by a bank, an SBA has been sent, is it just a wait and see now?
Can you reread that one, Terry?
If you are already, I'm thinking if you've already applied and are approved by bank and SBA has been sent, is it just a wait and see now?
Sounds like it's a PPP loan and they should check with their lender.
Okay. All right, next one. How and when do I apply for forgiveness? Is that with the lender? Is there a form, a process?
Yes, it is with the lender. It's in the lender's lap, and the forgiveness feature is in the process of being delineated and sent to all the lenders that have been participating in the program, and they will happily be able to handle the forgiveness feature.
All right, it says I've applied with 3 different lenders from when this program began and have gotten nowhere. Is there a place locally in Arizona you would recommend?
Again, Paula mentioned it just a minute ago, and I referenced it myself. Our lender list on our website, on our state website, is very active, and we are adding new lenders to it almost daily. I would check that list. We tried to make it as easy as possible for those that are looking at it, but there's going to be some work to it. But I'm very encouraged by the statistics that I gave when I opened up this webinar. With the smaller banks are out there, they're participating and they're trying to help. Believe me, they are really trying to help. I know some people don't feel it, but it just means they got to just work a little bit harder. Be persistent. That's my best advice. Don't stop. Be persistent.
Well, and I do know that at the Chandler Chamber, and I know my other colleagues here on the call today, each of them have on their individual chamber websites SBA lenders. So I would reach out to your local Chamber of Commerce also for direction. I sent somebody or to a particular lender end of last week, and they were amazed that they were approved yesterday. So that's really good news to hear. So
it is. We're hearing news like that, Terry, too. So Paula, you too?
Yes, we are. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're starting to see that people are putting smiles back on their faces.
Mm-hmm.
We are hearing about the PPP, but Yolanda, it's the EIDL loans that we're not hearing as many from. So keep our
From our
fingers
side,
crossed.
From our side, we're getting small businesses that are even, I just spoke to a client, she just got $10,000 advance yesterday. So each day we're getting more and more news that the idle funding is coming, at least for that advance money.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
I heard from several yesterday as well, several businesses yesterday that had received their idle advances, Terry. And, you know, they've been waiting patiently, some of them for quite a while. And yesterday was a very good day to hear some good news. So
Great. That's good news.
thank you, Londa,
Okay.
and your team.
Another one on when do we need to ask forgiveness with the PPP loan and who do we send documents to? Again, that was answered earlier, and go through your SBA lender.
Yes.
Next question is, left a message with SBDC on April 20th for counseling, have not heard back. And I will make sure that Paula gets that message directly and she can have somebody follow up. You can also go on that SBDC website and fill out a form. And that's probably the best way and the quickest way to get a response. Is that correct, Paula?
Yes, we do need to have you fill out the request for counseling form. It's very short, it's very quick.
All right. Next one, I received a PPP loan from a small AZ bank and opened up a separate bank account. I also received an idle emergency loan, $10,000 on April 19th that was deposited into another separate business account. Can I use the $10,000 to pay off a bill with that's probably Amex, from previous purchases prior to having to close that are coming due?
Yolanda, you want to take that one?
Yes, the $10,000, there's no stipulation that you use that for payroll, so you can use it for any business expenses. So that would include your credit card, any credit card payments as well.
Great. Regarding the PPP loan, how do they determine how many full-time employees have been maintained? Anyone who works over 32 hours?
That information is going to be explained well by the lender. So.
Okay. Next question, for PPP forgiveness, are the payroll costs during the 8-week period based on accrued payroll during that time frame, or payroll actually paid during that time frame, or both?
Again, I'd send this questionnaire back to the website that I identified earlier on the PPP calculator. So
okay.
Walk through that. Yep.
And does the utility cost include telephone and internet expense?
I think so. I would say so. Yes.
Okay. My SBA idle loan has been approved and I signed the promissory note using the SBA portal. I did this almost 3 weeks ago, but the funds haven't been dispersed. When I called, there isn't much the SBA is telling me. Is there some other source to get an update for disbursement?
Okay, Yolanda.
If you've contacted the customer service department, you might want to send that email to disaster customer service at sba.gov. Again, it sounds like you're really close to funding if you've signed your promissory note. So yeah, you definitely want to find out if things are moving forward. I would encourage you to send an email and make sure you reference your application number. Okay.
Next question, looking for guidance as an independent contractor that has already received my PPP. Since the use 2.5 months of my 2019 profit to determine my PPP loan amount, how will they evaluate my forgiveness?
Again, that's a question they need to take up with their lender.
Here's another one regarding forgiveness of PPP loans. If the business is unable to reach 75% of the loan in payroll, does that mean none of the loan is forgivable? Is it prorated or is it all or nothing?
No, it's prorated. So.
Okay. I've called the SBA customer service number many times and they've never been able to share any status on our loan. Do you expect the agents to have access to our loan application process so they can share feedback? This has gone on for several weeks.
Okay, Yolanda.
Yes, and yes, I might add that the customer service reps have limited access to all of the details because they are not loan officers. So the loan officer would have the most detailed information. So your customer service reps have limited access in the portal, so they don't have all the details of your loan. So I would ask that you continue to be patient. Again, we continue to process the applications as quickly as we can due to the unprecedented amount of volume of loan applications. Certainly, we've never encountered a pandemic, and we've never encountered processing more than 4 million loan applications. So I would encourage everyone, please be patient with us as we continue in this process and to provide you with as much information as we can.
Thank you, Yolanda. And I want to add, I want to point out a factor. SBA has, in 14 days, has made more loans than we did in 14 years. That's how big this undertaking is. So I want to thank everybody for their questions. And you got any more, Terry?
I do. Hang on, let me go. To maintain headcount, does one need the same employees or can we hire new employees to reach the same headcount?
You can hire new employees.
Okay. Our PPP loan was funded on April 13th. Does our FTE count have to be the same at the end of the 8 weeks after that date or June 30th?
After that date.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, the next one is on, they didn't answer. Can Form 1065 replace the need for Schedule C?
Not sure what they're referring to.
Okay.
Yep. Send that one to me, Terry. You got to put me to work.
No payroll or salary. I just use my profits to live off or invest in the business. I guess that was just a comment. I received $1,000 into my business checking. How do I know if it's idle or PPP?
The $1,000 sounds like that was your idle advance. If you are a sole prop or you have one employee.
Okay. Next one, I received PPP funding and an idle advance. How much of that is forgivable, assuming I meet the 75% payroll usage threshold? Are they two separate things or a combination?
Repeat that, Terry, please. Thank you.
I received PPP funding and an idle advance. How much of that is forgivable, assuming I meet the 75% payroll usage threshold?
Yolanda, you want to talk about the advance?
Your advance amount on the idle program will be forgivable from your idle loan. So let's say you receive an idle loan for $50,000 and you receive a $5,000 advance, then you would only have to pay the $45,000 balance. So that $5,000 of the advance would be forgivable on the idle loan side. Now on the PPP side, the amount of your advance is not forgivable.
Okay. Circling back to the idle advance in PPP funds, in prior professional guidance, it seemed to be stated that the advance was in addition to PPP funds as forgivable because it was for a different purpose. The application also seemed to indicate the numbers would be added, not subtracted. Can you clarify?
Yes, I can clarify that the amount of the idle advance will not be forgiven on the PPP program because it's forgiven on the idle loan side.
Okay. PPP, our lender says that they have no way of tracking the process of our application. And I think you stated that earlier. They have confirmed that it has been fully submitted as of last night. I called the SBA and they too say that they can't see the status. So any ideas or timeframes that we should consider to track the status?
I can respond that our lead lender relations specialist, Craig Jordan, is working tirelessly with the lenders, especially if they're unfamiliar with the program, they're new to it. So I would direct that directly to Craig.
Okay,
Craig.Jordan at sba.gov.
perfect. All right, I filled out the form on the SBDC website on 4/20 and got a message from Connie, but nobody has contacted us. That again, I think that one, we'll get that one to Paula and she can follow
Yes,
up on.
yes, please do that.
Just to confirm, you're not supposed to use PPP money to pay FICA and Social Security taxes, payroll taxes.
Correct.
Okay, if the EIDL is subtracted from the PPP, does that mean we only have to hit the 75% of the difference between the two?
I don't understand that. So, Yolanda, you got any thoughts on that one?
I don't have any details on that. That's more or less on the lender side.
All right. Add that to the chat, Terry.
Okay, the question was, we filed our 2019 taxes. The PPP process asked us to submit a Schedule C with our application. We did not file a Schedule C. Oh, sorry, hang on one second here. Oh. Our tax guy did a Form 1065 for the business. Will this be okay instead of the Schedule C?
Take that up directly with their lender.
Okay. Okay. Are independent contractors allowed to take a PPP loan? Chase denied my application because I didn't have a business checking account in February with them for my independent contract work, as I use a personal account. Are there any Arizona lenders that are processing PPP loans for independent contractors? And again, that's another one to go to that website and see the local ones that are providing that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Regarding the PPP, our employees are making significantly more on unemployment than we are able to afford to pay them. How do we recoup our employees when they're making so much more sitting at home doing nothing? We will most likely not be able to maintain our head count pre-corona. What is the penalty for not maintaining the head count? What if our payroll, hang on here, what if our payroll remains the same but the head count is lower? Will we most likely need to temporarily increase our hourly pay to get some of our employees back? We're hearing this one a lot.
The employees, Terry, the employees that are deciding to stay on unemployment after they've been offered their job back will ultimately and likely quickly lose their unemployment. So they'll have a decision to make. If they want to stay on unemployment, they're going to lose their job, okay, and they're likely going to lose their unemployment. Okay, the program was designed to get them back into their employed positions, and there's not a lot of wiggle room on that. So that's my best shot at that question.
Well, we have had a ton of great questions, and thank you, panelists, because there were lots coming in, and I hope we've, if I didn't get to yours, I apologize, we'll make sure, but we do want to be respectful of your time. I want to thank both everyone, Jim, Yolanda, and Paula for participating. And then I also want to do a shout out to my chamber colleagues, the Ahwatukee Foothills Chamber, the Apache Junction, Carefree Cave Creek, Chandler, Fountain Hills, Gilbert, Queen Creek, and Tempe Chambers of Commerce. Thank you so much for participating and collaborating on this very important information to our business community.
All right, ladies, now give them a smile. Paula? Okay,
Right.
we are not unfriendly people. Help us to help you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
And then
everyone.
what we will
Thank
do
you.
is, I do want to indicate the one final question. We will share this PowerPoint that we had on our social media, also get it out to the individual chambers so that you can have, they will have those resources for you, as well as those website links for you to follow up on. So great question, thank you, and thank you. Check with your local chamber to get additional information.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Terry. Great job.
Thanks.